Hey guys, it's Anne-Marie Bold Girl Will Travel. And I know I haven't done a video in a while, so I just wanted to come on here and say hey and do a quick video to give you a little story time of something that I think you all need to be aware of relevant to a hotel scam, booking scam that I learned about by experiencing it recently during a meetup that I put together in Jamaica. And I'm going to try as much as possible to share this information with you without divulging information to, respect the confidentiality of people involved. But I am going to talk about what happened as well as the hotel chain involved, because I just need you guys to have awareness in case this happens to you, okay? So recently I did a group trip to Jamaica, Negril, Jamaica to be exact. Negril is a place I absolutely love. It's probably my favorite place to visit in Jamaica. I've been to multiple parts of Jamaica. I've been to Jamaica many, many times, but I really love Negril. So when I was thinking about where I wanted to take people for my first group trips, which started this year, 2024, and they're going very well, by the way, Jamaica was definitely on the list, and I picked Negril. So I put together a trip to Negril for Valentine's Day week. I had 11 people book the trip, and I'm pretty sure if I had, had more spaces, more people would have come on the trip, because the trip sold out in about 30 days. So it sold out pretty quickly. Anyway, I used a package supplier, and a lot of, I don't know if you guys know this, but I am a registered travel agent now. I am not a traditional travel agent, so please don't call me about going to go to Disney. I don't do that. But through my travel business, I have access to every type of package under the sun that one could possibly imagine. I have access to information about trips all over the world, and so I am able to use that to find really great packages for putting trips together for my group trips. And then, of course, I design them, usually working with suppliers to provide the experiences, the excursions that I want my clients to experience. So I don't just buy them and sell them as a lot of agents do, and that's fine. I usually will then contact suppliers and say, well, can you add this? Can you take that out? Can I have this? And then I'll also work with tour companies to help me also put together the trips. So the trips that I sell, you can't just go buy off the shelf, because I design them myself and I curate them, and I get pricing from suppliers, and then I put a package together. But in any case, I contacted a very well-known supplier, and I asked about, hotels in Negril. I found that they had a package to a hotel that I had stayed at before. So I will tell you the name of the hotel, because I had stayed at this hotel before. It is the Riu Negril, R-I-U Negril. I stayed at the hotel Riu Negril several years ago. I stayed there with my cousin. We had a wonderful time. So I decided that that was the hotel that I wanted to go back to for this trip. So I, talked to the supplier. They found that the hotel had vacancies. The rate made sense for me for what I was looking for. And I identified a really great tour company to work with in Negril. And so I designed the trip, sold the trip, people bought the trip. And so, I had 11 people book. A couple people booked double occupancy, so they came along with other people, but most of the people who came on the trip were solo, which is great because I really designed my trips for solo travelers. So it wasn't surprising to me that most people opted to have their own room, and they came on their own, and it was wonderful. We had the best time. We did it all. We we watched the guys cliff dive at Rick's. We had a chartered catamaran cruise that took us out to cruise down the Caribbean into the sunset, which was one of my favorite things. We went waterfall hiking. Well, they mainly waterfall hiked. I didn't go on. I was there, but I didn't do the hiking part because hiking's not my thing. But the ladies went. They had a ball. They got massages at the waterfall. They got these sulfur clay massages. They had a blast. And we also did like a beach day at the White Sands 7 Mile beach in Negril. Hung out at the beach club. We had a really, really good time together. We had a Valentine's Day dinner where we all dressed in red. We had a ball. But that's not what this video is about. But if you want to know more about the trip and what we did, I have a vlog. I will link it in this video so that you can take a look at what we did. But so I'm making this video though because I want to alert you to something that happened, and now I've learned that it's happened to other people. So I wanted to make a video to just alert you guys to this. So I made reservations for, the different rooms. I booked them as soon as people booked. I booked their rooms for them. And so after the trip closed and the deadline for booking passed, I went back to check, all the reservations, make sure that they were in order, make the final planning with my tour company that I was working with on the island to put together, to make sure the excursions and everything, the details of everything that I wanted to do was together. And as I was checking the reservations, I noticed that one of the reservations for double occupancy room, the main person's name on the reservation was correct, but the second person's name on the reservation was completely different. So for example, let's say I made a reservation for Jane Jones and Susan Adams. The primary traveler was Jane Jones, but Susan Adams' name had now changed to Tamika Johnson. Let's just say for the purpose of this story, that's what happened. So Susan has now been changed to Tamika. So right away, I called the supplier for the company. And one detail I want to add is anytime I would call the supplier, and this is a supplier that mainly has travel agents use the supplier a lot, but also regular people use them also. But I'm not going to say the name of any of who the supplier is, because I don't think the issue is actually unique to the specific supplier, but I want to alert you to it. So I noticed when I called that anytime I would call this particular supplier, all of the people, the customer service agents, were all Jamaican. And I thought that was great, actually, because if you know anything about me, my parents are from the Caribbean as well. So I'm always happy to talk to people from the Caribbean, and I love Jamaica and I love Jamaican people. So I was tickled by the fact, because a lot of times when you call these 800 numbers, you're talking to people in the Philippines and you're talking to people in other places, but usually not in the Caribbean. So I was very happy to hear that. So, but this is a pertinent point that you need to keep in mind. That's why I'm telling you this. So I call and I say, I made this reservation months ago. The trip is going to be in another 60 days. And I noticed that one of the people's name is Susan, but her name's been changed to somebody named Tamika. I don't have anyone named Tamika traveling on this trip with me. So I need you guys to fix the reservation. And the first response from the supplier was, well, that's the name that we have on the reservation. And if you want it changed, you're going to have to pay a change fee. And I responded, absolutely not. I will not do that, because I never made a reservation for anyone named Tamika. I made the reservation for Jane and Susan. And I have, copies of what I booked at the time I booked. I kept copies, downloaded, the reservation confirmations with the names of everybody that was going. So I had this in my file. I'm a little anal retentive. Remember, I am a lawyer by training. Details are important. So I had copies of everything. So I told, I have copies of everything. I know exactly who I made the reservation for. Happy to send that to you, but I'm not paying a change fee. She put me on hold. And then she came back and said, I talked to a supervisor and we have made the correction for you. If you want to log on right now and check to make sure that the name we have is correct, we have corrected it for you. And we will make sure that it is taken care of and it shouldn't be a problem, right? Perfect. I went online, checked. It was changed back to Jane and Susan on the reservation, thought nothing else of it, and everything was great. A week or so before the trip, I checked all the reservations again to make sure everything was correct. Everything was in order. All the reservations had the right names on them, right rooms, everything, okay? So I get down to Jamaica. I get there a day early. When I check in, I check with the hotel. I let them know that I have other people coming the next day. They're like, everything is great. They believe everything is order. But the one thing I didn't do with the hotel was I didn't go through the names of everybody, because I had not made the reservation through the hotel. I had made the reservation through that supplier, who then was responsible for getting me the rate that they offered at the hotel and so on. Okay. So the next day, everyone starts arriving. I meet all the ladies. They're lovely. They were wonderful. And everyone is there. We were having a welcome dinner. So everyone met in the lobby at a certain time. The last people to arrive were Jane and Susan. And so Jane and Susan's sister, let's call her Mary. So Jane, Susan, and Mary arrive at the hotel, and they check in. We're getting ready to leave to dinner. So I tell them, we're going to go to dinner, but if they want to come to dinner, I can send the driver back to get them. So they're like, that's great. They'll probably do that because the restaurant wasn't that far from the hotel, but it wasn't at the hotel. So just before we're leaving, Jane comes up to me and she tells me there's a problem with the reservation because she's at the desk and they're saying they don't have Susan's name. So I tell the ladies to go ahead and get into the car with our driver. And I go by the front desk to try to figure out what's going on. And they tell me, well, they have Jane's name for the reservation, but they don't have Susan's name. They have the name of a Tamika Johnson. And immediately I'm like, well, how in the world could you have the name of Tamika Johnson? I've never made a reservation for Tamika Johnson. And I tell them, well, this came up a couple months ago when I initially made the reservation, but the supplier assured me that it was corrected and that they would send the information over to you guys to make sure you all had the right name. And so I'm very, unhappy to find out that you guys don't have the correct name. And I'm being extremely professional, very calm, very nice about it. The person at the front desk asked me if I had a copy of the reservation. And I said I did. So he gave me an email address. He told me to send it to him and they would try to get it sorted out on their end. So I decided, I sent that to him by email, and then I went with the ladies to the restaurant to get them settled in. And then I asked the driver to bring me back to the hotel. And while I'm in the car, I call the supplier, and I had them on speaker. And I call the supplier, and I'm a bit annoyed. I call the supplier, explain to the supplier what happened. The supplier tells me on their side, they see Jane and Susan as the people on the reservation. They don't see anybody by the name of Tamika, right? So they're trying to understand, or as well as me, why the hotel would have that information. And I said to them, well, it appears that either someone on your side or someone on the hotel side changed the reservation back to this Tamika person. I have no idea how this person's name got on this reservation. I don't know who this person is. I have no idea, how they ended up in my group because I have no one by that name. I know no one by that name. The person tells me, don't worry about it. We will call the hotel and get this straightened out for you. They said, we're going to call the reservation desk. We're going to get it sorted out. He puts me on hold. We get disconnected. I get to the restaurant. I get the ladies settled at the restaurant, but then I tell them to go ahead to have drinks. I got to go back over to the hotel to make sure that I got this situation sorted out for the three guests. When one guest was waiting for the other two guests to get them into their rooms. In the meantime, I get a message from Jane, who's the primary reservation holder, telling me the hotel is refusing to let Susan check in, even though I had already explained to them that she was the person whose name who should be on the reservation. They told me that the Hotel Rio Negril was refusing to let this person check in. They would not give her an armband. When you check into the hotel, they give you an armband because it's an all-inclusive, and you cannot, use the hotel, go into any of the facilities without the armband. So they were still sitting in the hotel lobby because the hotel would not let this one person check in, even though I had already explained to them the situation. So I told her I was on my way back, not to worry about it. The supplier had already spoken to me, assured me they would get it straightened out. So as I'm driving back, my driver explains to me, he's overheard everything that was going on, and he told me basically that he did not believe that what was happening to me was accidental. And he explained to me that there are times that some hotel personnel will change reservations in the system and take people's names off and add names of friends and relatives so that they can stay in the hotel. And this is a scam I want to alert you to. And he told me the hotel is aware that this happens. It happens at lots of hotels, not just this one. He said, but you're going to have to be firm with them in order to get this straightened out. So I went into my firm mode, i.e. my pissed off mode. And I went back into the hotel, and I had to get really agitated and angry with them. And I also had to bring up the fact that I was aware that what had happened to me might actually not have been accidental, but was part of a scam. And I had to say that in front of people at the front desk. And when I said that, and I got very angry because I explained to them that I felt like at this point, they knew that what I was saying was true, that this person was not a part of my group, was not a member, never had a reservation, shouldn't be on my reservation. I had sent them proof of that. And yet they were still refusing to give my guest her room. And I felt that the hotel showed really poor customer service and just refusing outright to make any accommodations to give this person a room. Even it was very clear that the name that they had on the reservation should not have been in there. And they kept insisting to me, oh, well, they have to get something from the reservation desk, and the reservation desk hasn't responded. So I called the supplier again. The supplier was very apologetic to me. They told me that they had already sent the information to the reservation desk, but that the reservation desk was closed because it was almost 9 p.m. at night at this point, but that everything should be sorted. And I told them I could not wait until tomorrow because my person needed to have a room that evening. And they told me they understood, and that they had also called the hotel, and that they would call the hotel again and ask that the hotel provide my guest with her room pending receiving approval from the hotel's reservation desk the next day. So I go back up to the desk, and now I'm really, really pissed, right? They finally get someone out to the front desk who apparently could make a decision. And that person offered me the option of adding my guest, Susan, who had a reservation, back to the reservation for an additional fee. And they assured me that if I or Susan was willing to pay the additional fee, they would add her on as an additional guest. And once they got the okay from the reservation desk, they would make the correction in their system and give me a full refund, right? And so I immediately said, first of all, why did you not offer me this option at least an hour and a half ago when you first became aware of this, right? Why did you wait for me to get upset and angry before you offered me an option of how to get her into her room? So I took out my, credit card, and I paid to have my guest added back to the reservation she should have been on in the first place. They gave her wristband. Everybody went to their room, and we went to dinner. But I'm telling you this story, and the hotel, by the time we got back from dinner, they had refunded my money back to my credit card. They gave me a receipt to show that they had, and they had everything straightened out. I don't know who else called them while I was at dinner, but apparently all of a sudden they found a way to get it corrected by the time I got back to dinner. But I have to tell you that, first of all, I was very upset with the Riu Hotel Negril about the way that they handle this, because I felt that they showed poor customer service in terms of not offering the option of adding my guest back to the reservation as soon as I brought this to their attention. And it's also very clear to me that something was going on that felt a little fraudulent and scammy. And I'm not saying that anybody at the hotel changed the reservation, and I'm not saying anybody at the supplier changed the reservation, but I know that I never made a reservation for anybody named Tamika. All of these are euphemisms. They're not real names. I know that I made the reservation for Jane and Susan. So I know I didn't make the change in the reservation. So somebody, either at the supplier or at the hotel, changed the reservation to add a person to it that was never part of the reservation in the first place, right? And then required that I pay an additional fee to get my guest put back onto the reservation, right? Now, I got my money back in a couple of hours, and everything was straightened out. But I have told this story to a couple other people since then, and they have told me that either they had that happen to them in Jamaica, or they know someone that it happened to in Jamaica, where the person arrives at the hotel and their name is no longer on the reservation. It's usually a second party or third party on the reservation finds that their name is no longer on the reservation, and they have to pay the hotel to add the person back. And in some cases, people have not gotten their money back, and in some cases they have. So I want to alert people, and this is not me saying anything bad about Jamaica or hotels. I'm just saying that these things apparently happen. I want to alert people that if you make a reservation through a third party, make sure that you contact the hotel before you arrive and make sure that they have your name on all the names of your guests in the room on the reservation. That's something I will do from now on for whether I'm staying somewhere or whether I have people staying there. Couple days before the reservation, before your arrival. I wouldn't say too far out because apparently people are going into the system and changing stuff, but you should contact the hotel and confirm that they have a reservation for you if you didn't make the reservation directly with the hotel, right? If you made it through a third party, Expedia or Delta Vacations or anything, make sure that you call the hotel yourself and make sure they have your reservation name so that if you have them tell you, oh no, we've got somebody else's name, that you have time to contact the supplier and get it fixed. In my case, the supplier was wonderful and they really intervened and got this straightened out for me. But somewhere in the system, someone went in, took one of my guests' name off and replaced it with someone I've never heard of. And if I was not as angry, I think, as I was at the time, I don't know if I would have gotten my refund right away. I don't know if everything would have gotten resolved in the way that it did, right? And I don't like to have to go anywhere and get irate and angry with people. But in this particular case, I had to get really upset in order for them to straighten it out, right? And so I feel like if you make a reservation not through the hotel, make sure you do that so that, because hotels, airlines, all of them tend to be problematic and less helpful when you do stuff through a third party. But a lot of us travel agents use suppliers because we can get better prices for the customer by using a supplier. It's very common. But I would very much recommend that if you are going to stay in a hotel chain in Jamaica, anywhere really, but in Jamaica for sure, make sure that you call the hotel, even if you didn't make your reservation directly through them. Call the hotel and confirm your reservation before you arrive. I think that it might save you some aggravation because no one wants to get to a hotel and find out that their name or their friend's name is not on the reservation. For the people who have told me that this happened to them as well, it was never the primary person on the reservation. It was a secondary person. So for example, if they booked a double occupancy room or they booked a room with 3 people in it, it was the second or third person on the reservation whose name got changed or deleted. So I'm just saying to you guys, this is something, and it was very clear to me that it was set up because when we were leaving on the shuttle van to go back to the airport at the end of the trip, the shuttle driver was calling the name for Tamika Johnson, the person I'd never heard of, whose name was never on my reservation. He was saying that he had that person on the list of people to transport back to the airport. But the person never showed up. And I was sitting on waiting to see if this person would show up, right? But the person did not show up. But he had the person's name on his transfer list to go back to the airport. So somebody either at the hotel or at the supplier, I don't know, somebody added this person's name to my group. Somebody did it. So it's something for you guys to just be aware of, that this is something that is apparently happening to people. And I wanted to do a video about it because I think it matters enough. It happened to me in my group. We got it resolved, and I got it resolved to my satisfaction. So I appreciate the help of my supplier. I appreciate the help of the hotel, even though I had to get up there and get pissed off in order for them to help me. So, as for me, I personally don't plan to stay at that hotel again. And I don't plan to put people at that hotel again because I did not like the way that they handled the situation. But we did get it resolved. But I want to make sure that you all know that this is something that can happen because other people told me about it and it wasn't at that hotel that it happened. It happened at different hotels on the island, but they were all larger hotel chains, right? So I'm not going to say the names of the other hotels because that's not what this is about. This is just to let you know that this is something that happens apparently sometimes. And so just be aware that when you make a reservation through a third-party supplier, that it might be a good idea to contact them before you arrive by phone or email and confirm that they have your name and a reservation in your name, because your name could disappear, or not your name, but one of your guests' name could disappear, and you don't want to get somewhere and then find out people that you booked for aren't there, and that you have to now pay another $100 a night or $50 a night or whatever to add them onto the reservation, right? And so this is something that I highly recommend that you be aware of and that you mitigate for, because it was very upsetting, and I had never heard of such a thing until I was told that this was something that happens. I've never experienced this, but then I travel by myself mostly, so I've never really had to be concerned about something like this. And when I have traveled with other people, I've never had something like this happen. But, you know, apparently it's a thing that can happen from time to time. So that's my little story time. Want to tell y'all that story. I plan to go live soon to tell you guys about my trip. I've been traveling a lot since the beginning of the year. I went to Zanzibar, I went to Mauritius, I went to Jamaica. So I will be doing a live before the end of March to talk to you guys about my little adventures and things that I've learned besides this. But I wanted to make a quick video just about this, because I'm not going to talk about this on my live. But I wanted to talk about this just to tell you guys about it, make you aware of it, and just tell you that it's something that can happen. Look out for it and do things to like protect yourself from it happening. Okay. So I hope this was helpful. Again, this is not me telling you where to stay in terms of a hotel. I'm just telling you what happened to me. I have not given real names of anyone in this video besides the hotel that we stayed at. But I just want to make you aware that this happened. Look out for it. Where you stay or where you selected a hotel is up to you. But I personally don't plan to stay at that hotel chain again. And it wasn't just this incident. Overall, I just felt like I did not like the experience for multiple reasons, mainly because I think I don't really like all-inclusive hotels. And this was an all-inclusive. I think my guests enjoyed it for the most part, but I just think I like smaller, more boutique-like hotels. So I think going forward, even for my group trips, I'll probably be looking at smaller, more intimate settings. I keep my trips at 15 or less people, so I think I can make that work. But I just feel like the all-inclusive thing at this point in my life is just not something that I like as much. So in the future, I would probably go with a smaller hotel chain, which will probably cause the pricing to be more than, you know, some of the trips that have been, because some of these smaller boutiques are not always less, but the experiences are nicer. The accommodations and the customer service are often better because they pay better attention to their guests and the guest experience is better. So I'm going to try some smaller hotels. Not necessarily that they won't be chains, but they'll be smaller, more boutique type, design type hotels, not big chains like the Rio, because I just didn't feel like the hotel experience was what I wanted for myself and for my guests. So I don't think I will put people, and that's not just the hotel in Jamaica. I also stayed at their hotel in Zanzibar and had a similar feeling, and I'll talk more about that on my live. But I wanted to make this video because I wanted you guys to know about this particular thing that happened and just share the story so that you all can look out for this and be aware that it can happen from time to time. I want to hope that it doesn't happen regularly, but apparently if I've had more than one person tell me that something like this happened to them, I was like, I should make a video and tell people about it, because I just want people to be aware that sometimes when you make a reservation to a third party, changes can get made. Or I don't know if sometimes even if you make it through the hotel, changes can get made. So make sure that you check and make sure that your reservation still is correct before you arrive. Like I would say a day or so before you get there, call the hotel and just say, I want to confirm the names of the people on my reservation, especially if you have more than one person. If you have more than one person, make sure that you do that. So because you don't want to arrive and then find out the name of your guest or your sister's or your mother's name is not there, or your sister's name got changed, but your mother's name is there. And now you got to pay extra money to get your mother's name put back on. I don't think anybody wants to deal with that when they're traveling, because everyone might not have a credit card to just pull out and charge the extra fees to, right? So that's just something to be aware of. So I hope this video is helpful. Let me know if it is in the comments. I'll be going live soon to talk more about my travels and my plans for this year. So if you want to see more and hear more about my trips. Make sure you are subscribed. Hit the like button if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Share it with a friend. And I will sign off now, and I'll see you guys in my live soon on my next video. Bye.